morning, CEOs.
Hi, ladies.
How's everybody doing?
So today we have a very important topic to talk about. It's something that I think women are scared to talk about, but it certainly happens to us, and we want to be able to talk about it with you.
Yeah, Tamara and I both talked about, we've had some really, really fun topics. We've had some really cool things that we've been able to discuss with you guys that are fun, that are encouraging. And tonight's topic is one of those topics that hits home for me personally. And I know for other women that are out there as well. So tonight we're going to be talking a little bit more about domestic violence. We're going to be talking about what that looks like from a physical and also verbal and mental. So we've got a lot of really good things to talk about tonight. We really want to hear you all's feedback. Because what I believe is when I went through my situation many moons ago, I was a lot younger. But one of the things that I remembered is as I started opening up and talking about my situation, it was very unhealthy. I just realized that there were so many other women that had been through it that never discussed it.
Never talked about it.
Yeah, never talked about it. And part of what I would say going through something like that, the healing process is being able to talk about it. Yeah. And I'll tell you a little bit about my situation. It didn't take me long to realize that it was unhealthy, truthfully. But it was in a relationship for about 1.5 years. And inside this relationship, there were a lot of signs and things that I noticed that were a little strange. Now, I was younger, I was a little naive. I didn't, and here's the thing, people who are dealing with mental illnesses or people that are not stable or sometimes just downright crazy, they don't come with a certain look, right?
Ain't that the truth?
It's not
they really
like,
don't.
Yeah, they don't have a profile that this person that looks like this could potentially be someone that could do something harmful to you.
100%. I mean, I've heard stories of women who are, have phenomenal jobs, well educated, but yet were victims of domestic violence and abuse.
Oh yeah. And to Tamara's point, I grew up in a household where I had a very, very good relationship with my father and my mother before she passed away. But one of the things that I would say, even in that, being younger and really one of the signs of an abuser is manipulation. So you've got manipulation, you've got isolation. People will want to have you to themselves, right?
I think that's a really key point. I think it's kind of one of the first beginning stages of really recognizing that you may be in an abusive relationship is the constant need to keep you isolated from friends and family. I think that's a really key sign. I would encourage you to be thinking about, if you're examining your own relationship, how often does your significant other allow you to kind of talk to friends, talk to family, go to events, those types of things. If you find that your spouse or your significant other is really kind of withdrawing you from that, it's a key sign.
And to Tamara's point, that's right. They start off as subtle signs. For me specifically, there was only one situation that took place, and I remember, and Tamara knows well, I actually drove to Tamara's house the night after the situation happened, but I remember saying, God, if you get me out of this situation, I'll never go back.
Jesus.
And I remember it thinking, like, even in that situation, like, this is terrifying. Like, how could I want to stay there? And I'm thankful for the love of a father, because a father's love will show you what love looks like. And here's the thing: there's a lot of women, there's a lot of men, there's a lot of people in the world that don't have a father's love. Right. I was blessed in that particular situation to be able to go through something that I knew immediately. This doesn't feel like God. It doesn't feel like what I was raised or how I was raised. So very, very quickly for me, and thankful for good friends who supported me, who were like, oh yeah, Kristen, you can't go back to that.
No.
Where in my mind, I already knew I wasn't. I had told God, I said, never again. If I can get out of this, like, Lord, I'm never turning back. And I didn't. But I also understand that my situation was probably really unique and very different. So there's a lot of people who may have been in relationships for years on top of years on top of years, and potentially could be in a covenant, be married to someone who is an abuser or who may verbally abuse them or physically abuse them. And ladies, here's the thing that I'll tell you that I know to be true is that that's not love. That's not what it looks like.
What do you tell the woman who maybe knows that they may be in a situation that's not good for them, but they feel the guilt that they caused it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a very good question, because I do think that there's a lot of emotions that comes with it. Because there's signs. There's always signs up front. And what I would say about those signs is you can't ignore things like that. And for the woman that feels like, hey, you know what? I stayed past those signs. It's my fault. Shame on me. You've got to be able to forgive yourself. And the other piece of forgiving yourself, and it's not easy to do. I mean, you've got to be able to kind of really have some time. Counseling, I always would suggest counseling.
Yes.
Or really some strong influence in your life that you can really just take the shield off, or take what I would say is the cover up off.
Right.
And really be able to talk through it. So number one, it's not your fault.
That's
there. There is nothing in the world that any woman can do that would justify being hurt in that way. And here's the thing, I mean, it's the same for females. There's female abusers out there. There's females that are
true,
absolutely abusing men and things like that, and that is not okay either. So but to Tamara's point, one of the things that God allowed me to do very quickly is, one, forgive myself. And that took some time. It was quicker than I think what may happen with some people. But again, for me, I recognized and identified really quick that this is not a healthy relationship. But for the female that's been in a relationship a long time, you're going to have to take time to really heal and forgive yourself. And then the bigger part of that is forgiving the person that's hurt you, be it verbal, be it physical, mentally. Those things can be hard to forgive a person for. But one of the things that I would say is, we have to remember how quick God forgave us and forgives us daily. And the second part is, I just happen to like God's blessings.
There's no reason to continue to block that in your life. And I would just say forgiveness is not for the person. This is for you.
That's good. Yeah,
this is your really therapy. Good. This is you allowing and releasing something. It doesn't mean that you have to forget.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to not remember. What it means is that you can think about those times and the weight of it isn't there.
Exactly.
That is true forgiveness, when you can literally think on it and the heaviness and the emotional pieces aren't plaguing you anymore. Forgiveness is truly for yourself. It's part of your healing process. And I would absolutely encourage anybody. I think we as African Americans, and just not African Americans, but just in general, we do not seek help from a professional.
Right.
And yes, I think it's important. Thankfully, I think we have the church to turn to. We have some other resources. But I'm going to tell you something. Mental health and dealing and coming out of things like abusive relationships take time to heal. There are trained, licensed professionals that can get you past a lot of the hurt, pain, anger, and emotions, and get you on a better track to really bettering yourself. So I'm like, a proponent of therapy. I think we just don't use it enough. So
Tamara hit on a big nugget, and I hope you guys heard that a lot of times, and I would say, like you said, the African American community, we shy away from thinking we need help other than going to pray about it, things like that. That is great,
and we need to. Don't stop
that. But I'll tell you, God also put counselors here for us specifically. So the Bible speaks of seeking wise counsel, godly counsel, and I'll tell you, from a counseling standpoint, it shouldn't be somewhere we only go when things are not well, or things are not right. I would say that there should be some natural desire for us to want to better ourselves anyway. But really having a good balance in life. SheEO is all about balancing being a wife, a mom, a corporate lady, a boss, a Christian woman. So there's always going to be times that plate sometimes turns into a platter, right? And we're trying to figure out how to balance all that. And then you got these little things that might pop in there. You've got someone that talks down to you, who's saying you're nothing, you need me. Or someone that may be putting their hands on you, or whatever it could be. And sometimes that platter starts to fill up and it starts to look like a buffet. So you really have to, honestly spend time thinking about what do I need to be healthy for myself? What do I need to be healthy for my children? If you have
kids in a situation, first and foremost, your responsibility is also to them as well.
Absolutely.
So I say all that to say, I've never experienced this, so I can only imagine the weight and kind of the guilt that comes along with it. This this isn't something that is easy to do or easy to break.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't happen usually overnight. Abusers typically have very subtle, you know, onsets before things start to get progressively worse. I want to hit on a couple of other just warning signs. We talked about control and isolation.
Right.
Really what it is control, right? And that happens through isolating you from friends and family. It also can happen through money. I think that's a typical scenario where someone tries to control you by controlling the finances.
Giving you lots of money and controlling what you can and can't do with it.
Exactly. And then really noticing how, that from an emotional standpoint, they're talking to you. A lot of times they come with very subtle, a lot of criticism. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's not, but it's usually signs around criticism and put downs.
Right.
Things that are tearing you down emotionally so that you feel dependent on that person. Or that without that person,
you may not be able to make it.
You couldn't make it. And listen, to your point, this doesn't like stop with a certain type of woman. I just want to be very clear about that. This is something that plagues even the best of women. So I want to just encourage you to know, if you're experiencing any of this stuff, you're not alone.
Yeah, and Tamara,
we see you, sis.
To Tamara's point, you aren't alone. And here's the thing: there is zero to be ashamed of.
No.
And here I am, some, I don't know, 10 years later, maybe. And for me, it's easy to discuss now, but there was a point in time that maybe I was a little embarrassed by that.
Yeah.
I told you I drove up to Virginia when Tamara was living in Virginia, and I remember getting there and really just kind of pulling everything down and just laying out before her and saying like, hey, this is where I'm at, and you're going to hold me accountable for this. Like, I'm not going to continue to be in that type of situation. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I know that I'm a beautiful woman in Christ. I know that I am blessed. I'm doing great things in my life. God has got so much in store for me. And one of the things that I want everyone to understand is like, when we go through things, everybody's heard this cliche, your test is for your testimony.
Come on now.
And here's the thing that I was just talking about with Tamara earlier is God can't come down to earth and testify for everybody, right? So we've got the Bible, we've got people that can speak the word, pastors that have been, you know, anointed to preach the word, but he needs people that can also reach people who've been through something.
That's right.
To be able to be comfortable enough to say, hey, I've been there before too, and look, here's how I got through it. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. And I love that point. We are now in an age where you have a lot of women speaking up. You've got the Me Too movements. You've got all kind of women speaking their truth, talking about those hard things, and really finding healing for themselves. So we want to continue to encourage you all. Kristen, thank you so much for sharing that, because I know that's tough. But like you mentioned, it's all about, you know, providing testimonies to other women, helping other women and getting them through it. So if you're experiencing something like this, there are several resources that you can go to. There is a national abuse hotline that you can literally Google search. We probably can add it to the links below.
We'll do that.
So that you can reach out. It's confidential. You can figure those out. There's tons of resources in your local area. We'll maybe try to get some things for Charlotte, but I wanted to at least leave you with a couple of things that you could, you know, do. That's one of them. Please remember that we love you. We see you, sis. And if you are in situations where you know you need to leave, we encourage you to take the first step
and talk about it. So to Tamara's point, we've given you some resources. We'll also put those in the comments below. The other piece is we're here too. One of the things that we understand is God gave us a platform. And we're going to utilize that platform to have fun. You guys know we're going to crack up. We're going to have a good time. We've got a great event coming up in September where we're going to be inviting all of the ladies out to just have a good time. We're going to be just, it's going to be so fun. So look forward to that. But we're also going to utilize this platform to really help people to be free and to feel comfortable in your skin and to feel comfortable with your journey. So again, feel comfortable reaching out to us. Feel free to send us a comment or whatever it may be, but we'd love to talk to you and help give you some guidance or things that you can do to feel comfortable and safe where you're at. But we love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. We've been doing this almost for about 6 months now. And we just appreciate you guys. You guys fuel us, and hopefully we are blessing you guys as well.
Absolutely. We love you guys, and stay tuned till next time.
Take care. Have a good night.